Welcome to Eagle's Nest Outdoors. I'm JB. Last month, when talking about EDCs, I said that I would come back around to the topic of emergency vehicle kits. So, as promised, here we go. In general, your vehicle's emergency kit should be able to handle the many different scenarios that you may encounter when you're traveling by said vehicle. This might be as simple as avoiding getting lost or keeping your passengers from getting hungry and thirsty when you're stuck in traffic, all the way up to handling a mechanical problem or dealing with an accident. A few items kept in your glove box or trunk can make the real difference between breezing through a situation or being miserable. Let's start small, basic, and work up from there. It may seem almost too simple, but I keep a couple of granola bars in the glove box. Me and many of my passengers have been glad of that more often than I think we'd admit. And when they won't freeze, I usually keep a couple bottles of water in the auxiliary cup holders. You know, the ones on the doors or on the back side of the center console. A pack of wet wipes also lives in the glove box so that we can keep our hands clean, whether it's after eating or after changing a tire. An umbrella and a small towel don't take up much space. Sometimes the weather's unpredictable. In the same vein, bug spray and sunscreen are also always handy, but mostly because I forget them half the time I actually need them. An ice scraper / snow brush lives in my truck year-round. I keep it more accessible during the cold half of the year, but I don't ever remove it from the car entirely. Murphy's Law says that's when I'd end up needing it. Always keep a small pad of paper and a couple pens or pencils handy. While these are useful for writing down anything that you may need to, the real purpose here is to be able to take notes if you've been in an accident. Get the other drivers' names, plate numbers, and insurance info. Get any witnesses' names and contact info. Write down the responding officer's name and their jurisdiction so that you can request the accident report later. Also, make sure to note the date and time, weather or road conditions, and a description of the accident, the damage, and any injuries. Take photos if you can. Moving on. Though GPS is great, there are a number of ways that it can fail. Though I have a GPS, I also keep street maps of the areas I travel regularly, and a road atlas of the U.S. stays in my trunk bag. It boggles my mind, but too many people don't seem to have jumper cables anymore. They don't take up a lot of space. They aren't a mystery to use, and you just might need them yourself someday. Heck, if you're really worried about using them wrong, there are even fancy ones on the market nowadays that let you hook them up however you want, and they sort out connecting the correct terminals for you. In the same vein, regularly make sure your spare tire has air in it, and you've acquainted yourself with the jack that came with your car. Just about all of them do nowadays. You might have AAA, but it might take them a long time to get someone to you, or it just might not be an option. A flashlight. It's plain old handy to have, but especially in any emergency or situation that happens at night. I keep a pretty well-stocked first aid kit in my trunk, and it's come in handy more than once. What we use more often, though, is the travel-size bottle of painkillers that stays in the glove box. I keep an a folding shovel, in my trunk bag just because I live in snow country, and it's possible to get stuck even with four-wheel drive. A couple of other small tools also hang around here, including a pretty standard multi-tool and a Swiss Army knife. I also keep a roll of duct tape and some cable ties in here for quick and dirty repairs. And a paracord Also has plenty of uses, from small fixes through pulling out a stuck car. I also like these multi-mode LED flashers. They run much longer than a road flare. They're just as visible and are, of course, reusable. You can stand them up, or you can use this magnet here on the back to attach it to your vehicle. There's even a normal light mode. We cycle all the way through. There we go. So you can stick it to the underside of your open hood and see what you're doing. Of course, then you have to go through all the different configurations here to actually turn it off. That might be the one annoying thing about it. There we go. While we're talking about tools, the one that I might consider the most useful is this. This is a rescue knife. It can be opened one-handed, and it also has a seatbelt cutter and a glass breaker. This is what is going to get me or anyone else out of the vehicle if things aren't working right. I keep this in a spot that I can always reach from the driver's seat, and where it's not going to move around on me. After all, I don't want to waste precious moments rummaging around in the center console for it, especially if my vehicle's not even upright, and opening the console at all is going to spill things everywhere. Something like this is too big for you. An alternative to one of these is Escape Tools. It's just the belt cutter and the glass breaker, but it can easily fit on a keychain, so that's always handy and hanging right there from your ignition. Adding to the other ways that I have in here for keeping warm are a couple of fire starters, including matches, a ferro rod, and even a Fresnel lens. I've thought about putting one of those little folding pocket stoves and some fuel tabs in here, along with some tea bags and hot cocoa packets, but it might be a little too overboard. Now, all of this stays organized in a patrol day pack from Fieldline Tactical and a Survivor dry box from MTM. The dry box also has a reflective patch and a small compass built in. Not only does this keep stuff from rattling around and make it relatively easy to find, but it also means I've got a way to carry what's useful to me if I end up having to make my way on foot. Now, as long as we're talking about vehicles, I found that a lot of people like to talk about bug-out vehicles. Some might say that the best bug-out vehicle is a souped-up Jeep with mud and tires, beefy suspension, snorkel, heavy-duty winch, and spotlights, because it'll get you anywhere you need to go. Others think that when the brown stuff hits the fan, we're going to experience an EMP from one source or another, so we should have a 70s-era truck that doesn't rely on electronics and computers to run, like our modern-day vehicles do. I think that your best bug-out vehicle is the one that is going to run reliably and is going to get you, anyone else, and anything else to where you need to go. If you're a family of 4 with 2 dogs and a lot of food and gear that need to get from the city to your backwoods cabin down the end of a tiny dirt road, then you're probably looking at an SUV. If it's just you and your loved one, then a hybrid electric vehicle is going to get you much further away from disaster before you need to be looking for gas. Yes, I did say a hybrid electric vehicle. I truly think the most important thing about your vehicle is that it's well equipped, such as with a kit like the one we've been talking about, and is well maintained. Follow your vehicle's maintenance schedule outlined in the manual, including twice yearly oil changes, and always keep your gas tank at least 1/4 full. If you take care of your vehicle, it'll take care of you. If you are looking at a new-to-you vehicle, some features you might wish to consider are all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. This will let your vehicle handle rougher terrain with a better chance of not getting bogged down. Of course, this is counter to your general desire to get something more fuel efficient and thus with a longer range between refueling. A roof rack, or at least those parallel bars in the roof that you can attach a real roof rack to. If you need extra cargo space, a roof rack can be a quick and easy way to get it. If you really need extra cargo space, you might want to look for something with a trailer hitch, or at least with a decent towing capacity so you can add a hitch later. Run flat tires. Now, these are considerably more expensive than your standard tires, but they do give you the ability to limp back to civilization rather than being stuck with a flat in the middle of nowhere. Last and least, a winch. The ability to haul yourself or someone else out of a ditch might prove priceless, but I wouldn't let this make or break your decision. As to types of vehicles, well, like I said, that's going to be strictly based on your needs. Many people think of a Jeep, pickup, or SUV when they think of bug-out vehicles because those tend to already be designed with ruggedness and the outdoors in mind. Many of them will do admirably at hauling you and your gear wherever you need to go, or serving as utility and support vehicles. But do your homework and take that reputation with a grain of salt. Many SUVs have evolved into something softer than their predecessor after years in the suburbs. Also consider crossover utility vehicles and any model car that has roots in the rally racing circuit, as these vehicles have equally hardy parentage. If you just have yourself to consider, and especially if you live in an urban area, you may want to think about a motorcycle. You won't be able to haul a lot of gear, but you will be able to weave past the traffic jams that will occur during an evacuation scenario. Many also get pretty good gas mileage. Speaking of mileage, as I mentioned earlier, don't rule out hybrids. They will get you further down the road before needing a gas break. To be clear, I'm not talking about an electric vehicle that will need to be plugged in to recharge, but a hybrid that can recharge itself on the go. On the opposite end of the spectrum is an RV. It is a bug-out location in and of itself, but it isn't very inconspicuous. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't take a huge step back from this discussion and mention something that a lot of people tend to leave out. And that's people-powered vehicles. Though a bicycle or kayak can only carry one person and not a lot of gear and aren't particularly fast, they are light and portable and have a range completely independent of fuel supply. Their small size and maneuverability also let them utilize paths that other vehicles can't. Even if something like this is not your primary bug-out vehicle, having one, or both, carried by your bug-out vehicle may give you the flexibility that you need. Well, that's all I've got for now. As always, I hope I've given you some useful info and things to think about. If you've enjoyed this or any of my other videos, don't forget to like and subscribe so that I keep making them. Till next time, stay safe and have fun.